Just right on, swing a little wide onto him. That's good. Go ahead and walk right in. Oh, yes. Air! Touch! Touch! Welcome to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host. Glad you could join me. And this week, get ready to learn something. If your dog is not perfect, it's probably your fault. No, just kidding. It's both of your faults. And George Hickox, the legendary trainer, trialer, champion, breeder, and bird hunter, will be joining us to answer all our questions about all those topics and many more. And I'll bet we'll talk about hunting a little bit as well. So stick around for all of that. In our Fix It segment, we'll talk about the pad problems you're encountering this time of year, and I've got a solution that works for me. Maybe it'll help you as well. And on our social media pages, we discussed whether you hunt by yourself or with somebody else most of the time, and why. I think you'll be fascinated by some of the answers you hear and see if you're watching on video. And if you are listening and want to watch on video, the best places to go, our YouTube channel, and findbirdhuntingspots.com. Of course, as usual, all of this is made possible by Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School, TrulockChokes tubes, Purina Pro Plan Sport dog food, Sage and Breaker gun care products, CableGangz tie-out systems, Pointer shotguns, Heartland Lodge, and HiViz sights. Well, here it's back to the range for me. I've been shooting so poorly, and it's the usual. At least now I think I'm figuring out why I'm shooting so poorly. And yes, it does ultimately boil down to gun mount. A little bit rushed, and then picking my head off the stock when I pull the trigger to watch that bird fall. Of course, it seldom does when you look up as you're shooting, but you know that. Time to put in a few hundred reps at the range and square things away for the rest of the season. You've probably got your own situation in that regard, but if you do and you want some tips, I've got some great advice, some excellent articles on this subject. Just go to findbirdhuntingspots.com. In the social pages, I asked a question that I think is very interesting, and the answers were just as interesting. Are most of your hunts solo, or do you hunt with somebody else? Let's go to the page and see what I'm talking about. Mike and Erica Carr. Hey, which one is answering today? Do both, like both. Kill more chuckers solo, but probably because I hunt spots I don't share in a group setting. I get it, Mike or Erica or both of you. Solo most of the time for Mark Root. All my hunting buddies are in their 70s, same as me, but they haven't taken care of themselves. Walking for hours is too hard. Mark, maybe me too. I got a German wire-haired pointer because I knew he would keep me on my feet. It's working and we both stay in shape. Yeah, we're brothers from another mother. I like one dog, one man, Harvey's story says. Don't need to key off what everybody else is doing or their dogs. And, good point, Harvey. So easy for the dog to keep track of where I am. Don Treat almost always solo with two dogs. The GSP pins them and the lab helps find them when they go down. Yeah, and sometimes it takes a lot of rest stops to get up the hill. I prefer not being pressured by anyone else with me. So true. About 50-50, but if I'm actually successful, it's more like 90% with someone, says Darren Timberlake. This is because I really need to drive about 2 hours to where the birds are. So I generally meet local friends. Yeah, that's a great, I love that idea. meet somebody who already lives in that area for a bunch of reasons. And we won't go into those. Jerry Carlson says there's so much public land where I live. You don't need anything more than a good dog and a pair of quality boots to reward your dog to retrieve. Jeff Powers, solo most of the time. Most hunting buddies cancel out at the last minute. And a good reason, Jeff, to carry that Garmin Mini in reach. Did you hear a recent podcast? Because Jeff also says you never know when you might bust a rib or something. Jim Cochran hunted solo my entire life. He's 75 now. I just enjoy the peace and solitude, and most important to me, the connection to my dog. Don't we all? Wrote a piece on this for, I think it was Upland Almanac a couple years back, and that's one of the keys for me as well. Love hunting with others, but I also love that connection. Good for you, Jim. Let's see, anything else of interest here? There's been 3 of us for about 45 years now, says Eddie Simmons. A great time every year. So that's your big annual trip, it looks like. And all 3 work their own dog. Been there recently. Lots of high points in a crowd like that. Mostly solo, says Court Green. Next year, taking a new hunter with him who wants to learn. That's a heck of a way to recruit a new hunter, by the way. Some of both for Alan Swisher, mostly solo for Benjamin Wenner. Robert Murphy, just me and the dogs. I enjoy the solitude. Joe Christensen, solo, not because I don't enjoy other people, but I like watching my dog. Yeah, isn't that the truth? And lots more comments like that out there. Fascinating answers. Maybe you have your own. And whatever it is and whatever works for you is all that matters. This portion of the program brought to you by pointershotguns.com. It's the time of year when we're thinking about giving away stuff. And if somebody on your list deserves a shotgun, if you're looking for a one-stop shopping experience, go to pointershotguns.com. Whatever you're looking for, they've got something. Any configuration, from semi-automatics to side-by-sides, everything in between. Every gauge. And all those colors and metal choices. Traditional bluing, nickel, case coloring. All those Cerakote colors. If you're looking for a gift for yourself or for somebody else, then go to pointershotguns.com. Find a local dealer nearby or shop one of the big boxes. Bass Pro, Sportsman's Warehouse, Cabela's, Turner's Outdoorsman. They've all got Pointer shotguns in stock and ready to put a bow on. Beauty. That is a pretty face. Here we go. Good boy, man. Yeah, it's so great to literally to see him now, too. George Hickox joins me. Field trialer, trial trainer, dog trainer, hunting dog trainer, legendary. The guy is, he's the real deal. That's all I can tell you. He's owned Dogs of the Year in both the pointing dog and the flushing dog categories. And he's also a magazine article writer. We share the same magazine, I think, George. Welcome to the program, George Hickox.
Always great to be with you, Scott. Thank you.
Let's start with that because it is fun. Oh, what do you get out of writing for magazines?
Well, I'm in the education business, and, my objective is to help people have more fun and learn how to be better trainers, and I had the opportunity to do that. So I do.
Yeah, it's same for me. And it's funny, I had a conversation a few days ago with another trainer, and he's at the point where he is essentially consulting now instead of leading, instead of a whole string of dogs every day. And I said, this is the trainer version of what I hear from a whole bunch of other people. The part you like most, you can do now, which is helping other people.
That's right.
What is it? How do you feel about it? I mean, what does that make you feel like?
I think it's a great blue ribbon when you see somebody that is having more fun with their dog, that has a better trained dog, is not pulling their hair out, shouting cursives all the way through the hunting season. Okay. It makes you good. And, and it was harder, going back in time, I'm older. Okay. There just really wasn't a good sounding board to help people to train, and your pro trainers who got national credentials and so forth, they're busy. Okay. So they don't have time to get on chat rooms and do it. And it's not there. So much of the information might be, quote, not really pertinent. Okay. So I said, geez, let's try to do the real thing. So back when Dave Meisner was alive, he asked me to do one and I did it. And I said, man, I really like that. Let's do more of them. Okay. So that's sort of how it started.
Oh, that's great. And you're still at it, and so am I, and I'm loving every minute of it as well. I really look forward to getting calls and emails from editors asking for, well, they're asking for help too, I guess,
Sure.
and it's
Sure.
different kind, but that's exactly.
Well, I'm fortunate, I'm still able to get on and off my horse. We just left the field trial yesterday where actually Debbie's dog won, which was cool. So it's sort of a great world of being able to do a little bit of both.
Well, field trials are for a lot of people are a bridge too far, if you want to call it that. They'll never go. They'll never participate. But hey, everybody, even if you don't, go and watch a couple of them. And you don't always have to ride a horse, but it does help. But you can.
Oh no,
figure
I mean
out
there's
other
all
ways.
kinds of walking trials. Okay, I agree with you 100%. I mean, I think it's so hard. I think you and I talked about this in the past. A lot of people never have a standard. They don't really know what the standard is. Okay. So if their dog just sort of comes when they call them sometimes. Okay. Then, they think they've got the world's best dog. And I think by going to a trial, whether it's a horseback trial, a walk-in trial, whatever venue it is, I think you get to see people who make mistakes, which is a learning curve, and you get to see people who are not making mistakes. And I think that's really beneficial. So I encourage everybody. And now there's so many of the trials that have gone to the youth trials to help people, people like myself, other people contributing their time and so forth to put on youth trials. And this could be somebody who's never handled a dog ever before. And I think those youth trials, that might be something you get involved in on a podcast sometime with field trial people. That happens. I can give you names.
Yeah, that's great, and I will. Thanks for that. I'll be in touch on that because it does create a new source of participants, and we
Absolutely.
need that for a lot of reasons, of course.
Sure. In our industry, whether it's the hunter, the field trialer, somebody who's doing both, we just got to find a way to get the youth involved. Okay. So we don't want a declining sport.
And on that note, let's talk a little bit about your field trial year. You just come back from one. You're headed out on another one, I think, pretty soon as well.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about
the year we're in.
Pardon me, I missed that. What was that?
I said my fault. It's at this time of year we're pretty active in the trials. During the summer we're training, and then we run our clinics and, throughout the year. But this time of year we're pretty active going somewhere to, some field trial. It might be with derby dogs, young dogs, or some of the seasoned older dogs. We get a dog just won the All-American. It just depends what level we're trying to get stuff accomplished with the dogs.
And you both participate, you compete, if you will, and you judge a lot. You're an in-demand judge, and so is your wife, which is an interesting opportunity. Talking with somebody yesterday, and they said, "I just got home from a hunting trip, and my wife said, 'You're going again, aren't you?'" Maybe you don't have to say that as often, or maybe you say it differently when Debbie goes with you.
Well, I tell you, so far at the trials, and we've just a few together, the Quail Championship in South Carolina. We got big trial coming up. We're judging in Alabama starting December 1st. There'll be a lot of entries. That's the one place we haven't argued yet. Okay. So, we get to say, yeah, just appreciate the dog and sit in the saddle. You're watching great dogs and the people, and, it's great.
If you had to sum it up as a trial judge, what is it that trips your trigger?
Well, there's certain things a dog can't make a mistake on. I mean, he can't creep, he can't take birds out, he can't chase them. Those are no matter who the dog is. It's a case of style. The dog is looking like, should he be bred for that best gun dog that you would ever have? Does he find birds? Does he run the downwind side of a hedgerow, or is he trying to run the upwind side? So class and style and looking like the dog owns the field. I have a line that, there should be a law against running the dog in August when the grass is dry because he might catch it on fire. That's the type of dog you're looking for. One that gives you goosebumps.
You don't have near the accent you should have to say something that good.
Well, I've been all over the country so much, my accent keeps getting degraded.
Oh,
I still say y'all quite frequently.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to hear about some of your, I guess I'll call them dog-oriented highlights so far this year, this season, whatever it is. Can you think of anything that just is indelibly etched in your mind about dog work that you've seen or trained for?
Really some amazing, what I call on the limb finds, where it's, the dog was out, reaching out and found the bird that nobody else had found. Like this dog that won yesterday, when he was in one area and nobody had found a bird in that area, and he did, and impress the judges. A dog that really quests, says he's got to own it out there. He looks like he enjoys what he's doing. He puts, speed and style. He's got charisma. Okay. That's the type of dog. One that you could pull up a lawn chair, have a beer, and say, I just like watching that dog run.
I love it. And you use the term that we'll delve into a little bit later as well. I'd never heard it described this way before, but you used the term quest. And I've since watched my dog on many occasions and trying to figure out what motivates him. And we all come up with the trite answer, which is, they want birds in their mouth. They
Right.
want to find them and carry them around and probably eat them. Which I think is better than nothing. If we're thinking that way, we're almost there. But you use the term quest as kind of the ultimate goal for dogs. Do you want to elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sure. Quest being, I believe, just like you turn a beagle loose as a puppy, he hadn't had experience, he didn't have training, but he's going to look for rabbits. It's instinctive in there. So the great dogs, the dogs who win at the national level, dog of the year, that type of stuff, and just some super gun dogs I've been fortunate enough to see over the years. Their desire to find game. In the field trial game, particularly the money game, the judging ends at the flush. So there's no birds that are shot. You fire a blank pistol, right? So there's no retrieving involved. Okay. So we had this dog, Bolt, winningest dog of all times. He didn't retrieve. He never was asked to retrieve. He ran trials. He had to find birds. He had to look like $1 million pointing them back, all the good bird manners handle. But the retrieving, and we'll get a guy who'll call us on pointing breeds I'm referring to now, and say, oh, you got a litter coming up to the dog's retrieve. Well, they haven't been born. How do I know? Okay. But secondly, the question should really be, do they point? If we're talking about pointing dogs, what's the most important thing you can do? Point, hold point, so you can get there to pull the trigger. Okay. So retrieving, if he doesn't point, then you got a flushing dog, and that's great. I mean, I've had Springers, admire him, but for the pointing breed, he shouldn't be a flushing dog.
I for years, one of my earlier dog training failures, I thought would turn out to be the world's first German wire-haired flusher. We finally got over that. But, you're right. If you lay it out that way, then most pointing breeds should live for the find.
Absolutely. The desire to quest. Okay. And that's what you're, in a breeding program, what you're trying to, breed for. And I look at like the top level dogs at the field trial circuit. It's a gun dog on public display. The gun dog has to find birds. He has to have bird manners. If he's busting birds out of gun range, then nobody's happy, right? So
Yeah.
in the retrieving portion, I do clinics. I get, privilege of seeing lots of dogs over my long tenure. Okay. The retrieving, particularly for the gun dog, you want him to retrieve. But the task of training him to retrieve, I believe, should be done after you've taught him to hold point. We prefer a dog to be shaded, waiting shot, but at least he has to hold point. Because if that dog is retrieving during the process before he's trained to be steady to shot, going to the bird is a reward for leaving. And the person's going to have to do more screaming and more corrections to get their dog to hold point. So even if I'm training a dog that's going to be a walking gun dog, we're going to do the retrieving portion of the training after we have him handling and after he has bird manners.
It's so crystal clear when you explain it. And it does prompt a lot of other memories in my mind. Pro trainers who never let a young dog pick up a bird, period. That they're out there picking them up. And now I'm seeing why. With a young dog, we do that in various ways. And you probably got many of the same techniques that most of us have tried. What do you do with a young dog that points fine, but won't hold that point? And obviously, we're going to hopefully not let him catch a bird. What are the things that you use most often in the way of techniques to get that dog?
Well, I got to back it up. I mean, the first thing we're going to do is say we have a litter of puppies. We're going to put them into birds early, and we're going to guarantee that. So we are using pin-raised quail. Even though I'm in North Dakota, got lots of wild birds. Here in Georgia, we're the bird-rich quail country. I want that dog to get imprinted, okay, on the bird, not imprinted on chipmunk scent and rabbits, and imprinted on the bird. So he's going to end up flash pointing. He's going to take him out. He's going to chase him, and that's okay. Right? He's not getting corrected for that. When we go to teaching him to hold point, which is going to be much later, much later. I mean, not at 6 months of age. Okay, and at that point, we're going to use check cord drills. We'll use planted pigeons. We'll bring him in. At that point, what we do is we're going to throw or launch a bird, not the bird he's pointing. That bird's a lock-winged pigeon. Okay, we're not flushing that bird. When he gives us the behavior of standing there, I mean, for just a split second, we're going to launch a bird or throw a bird with an assistant. Okay, he loves seeing a bird. Okay, that's his reward for standing. So we're going to take the approach that your behavior of standing gets your reward. Later, we'll use corrections and pressure, but we're not going to start with pressure. We're going to start, hey, good job. You're doing great, buddy. Look what happens when you stop. Okay, you get to see a bird. Then he's going to chase that bird. We got him on a check cord. We're going to run with him. We're not discouraging him from chasing that bird. So we'll run with him 10, 15 yards. We're going to bring him back to the area that our planted bird is, because it didn't go anywhere. It's a lock-winged pigeon. And he's going to reestablish point, and he gets to see a second bird. In a hop, skip, and a jump, he says, you know what? There's going to be another bird. Let me stand here. Plus, the planted bird helps hold him in that place. So I think it's a handicap for trainers to go out and flush the bird that the dog is pointing, because they're going to end up putting correction on him for the chase. And there's no dog in the world who's looked better because he came out of a program of more corrections versus a program of less corrections.
I'm going to write that down. I'm going to take the transcript and pull that out, because that is a great way to look at this.
Sure. Now, it doesn't mean we don't correct. Of course we correct.
Yeah.
But we got to teach him what it is first, and we want to reward him for doing the right thing. And if we do that, we're not going to have to keep correcting for the wrong thing. And on corrections, you've got a dog, say somebody has, and it's 7, 8 years of age. It's still chasing birds, creeping, whatever it is. And they keep yelling, screaming, stimulating, whatever they're doing, and the dog keeps doing it. The program doesn't work. And the thing when a dog does something, there's only 2 reasons, in my opinion, that the dog won't do it. One is that he doesn't understand what he's supposed to do. The second one with that is on the correction, he doesn't have a solution for it. He doesn't know how to prevent it. If you start off by rewarding him in the case of point, by standing, simply the behavior of standing, and you can start with a clicker in the yard with a board, just stand, click, treat. Okay, so he says, wow, the behavior of standing is really good. Instead of being in the place where the bird is, and as soon as he moves, he gets jerked or stimulated or bit on the nose, whatever it is.
I love that idea, because it can transfer that to virtually every aspect of your training. But I want to circle back, because here's the crux for a lot of people. Okay, we did what you said. We launched a bird. it flew away. The dog chased a little. We were running alongside. We swung him back in, downwind of that wing lock bird. Now what?
We're going to launch or throw a second bird.
And
gets
then
to see another bird. And it might be 3 birds, 4 birds, 5 birds, okay?
Yeah.
Till we start seeing that behavior of standing is reliable, okay? At that point, you should be able to walk out in front of him at this point. I'm not talking finished gun dog now, but in a drill scenario in the yard, going to school, you should be able to walk out in front. He looks like $1 million standing there, and you throw a bird, you fire the gun, he stands there. When he does that, that's our benchmark where we're going to move and generalize the dog.
Are we going to then heel him away from all of that? Or are we cutting him loose? Or what do we do as
tell him he's a good boy, take him by the collar. We're not going to let him have a delayed chase. If we got the scent bird there, I can just simply pick the dog up, tell him he's really good, and take him out, close the book, put the book back on the shelf. That chapter's closed.
And I'm going to put a period right there, because that is the key right there. A lot of us don't segue from the learning experience in the correct way. And I've told people over the years at NAVDA play days and training days, heel that dog away, or better still, if you can, carry it away, so that there's no physical relationship left there. Is that?
Yeah, at no time am I trying to say I don't want you to have the bird. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, so it's a little bit of confusion in my mind if I say if the bird is still there and I'm leading him away, that's what I'd do if a snake was there. It doesn't make any sense to me to do those two things the same.
Again, this is spectacular and really clearing things up for me. One of the things that you've done before and still do, you're still doing clinics. You've got a series of DVDs, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
You. In all of those places, you have to narrow things down. At a clinic with people in front of you and dogs hopefully behaving, what is the biggest challenge most of those clinic attendees want you to help them with?
Probably most of them because they can't recall their dog. Okay. And the fact that their dog might be creeping, taking birds out, chasing, but he's running out of control. That's their biggest fear. And I don't think they approached it in the most logical way. It all falls together. I mean, the yard training and everything out there. So I come back to the most important thing your pointing dog can do is point, right? And if he's catching birds, he's taking birds out, it's going to make the process of teaching him to be steady much more difficult, right? You'll get dogs that have come to school, obviously, that have been spoiled, okay? And the dog says, I don't have to do anything you want me to do. Well, now he has to go to boot camp. It didn't have to if we did it differently at the beginning, okay? Used a clicker and some hot dogs. Be amazing how a dog recalls, right? But if he's out there and somebody's just yelling and screaming because he's chasing a bird, the dog didn't learn anything from that, okay? He did learn he likes chasing. So now he gets to the field and he says, I'm going to chase again. I'm going to chase again. So that's the biggest thing. You get people who want to make sure they're doing it right with an e-collar, which is great because it's a lot easier to do it right from the beginning than it is to fix something that has been done wrong. And on the e-collar, it's really learning how to administer corrections. It's not the e-collar. I don't care whether you used a pinch collar, you squeezed his ear, whatever it was, right? There has to be a demerit for robbing the bank, but it'd be better if you taught him not to rob the bank in the beginning and there's a reward for not robbing than there's a reward when you do rob. And that's, I think the biggest thing is it's really difficult to be self-taught in most things. And I think it's difficult to be self-taught in dog training.
For the humans or the dogs?
For both. I'm not one who's going to run a young dog with an older dog, so the older dog teaches him how to hold point. Okay, I think let's just train them both and then put them together.
Yeah, I've always believed that the young dog's going to learn as many bad habits as he learns good habits in that situation.
No, it's
Don't ask
not.
why I know that.
We're playing Russian roulette. We're hoping he understands. Let's guarantee the results. And I think that's what training is, guaranteeing the result.
And I want to talk more about that and a whole bunch of other subjects. Everybody, that's George Hickox. I'm Scott Linden. This is the Upland Nation podcast. We'll be back with George in just a moment. And then later on in the program, that Fix It segment about pad maintenance during the season. Hard-won advice from this guy, and maybe a few of your own thoughts. So stick with me. George, you get a quick break while I talk about Purina Pro Plan Sport dog food. Yeah, designed for active, hardworking dogs like yours, like mine. High protein, real meat is the first ingredient, complete and balanced nutrition. Now, here's what that means in practical terms. That means it optimizes the oxygen metabolism. You've seen the term VO2 max. Well, that's all about a dog processing oxygen for increased endurance during exercise. The formulations that Purina Pro Plan Sport offers your dog all have that uppermost in their research and nutritional design. And the high protein real meat source adds amino acids that nourish muscles, including recovery after the hunt. Those are the critical factors for your dog and my dog and probably George's dogs too, now that I think about it. So take a look at proplansport.com and get more information about the science behind the nutrition. And welcome back to the Upland Nation podcast. I'm Scott Linden, your host. George Hickox joins me from Georgia now, but you are a, maybe not a world traveler. Maybe you are, but maybe we can't talk about that or you'll have to kill me. But where have you been in the last few months? I mean, and what's been the funnest part about that?
The funnest part was not the drive back from North Dakota to Georgia. Okay. We love being in the prairies during the summer. Okay. And then when the cold weather starts coming in and the hoses start to freeze, it's time to be back in Georgia. So, I love being in Georgia during the wintertime with the quail and the horses and, field trials, but I love the prairie. So I can't say which one I like better. I know I don't want to be in Georgia in July, and I know I don't want to be in North Dakota in January and February.
Isn't that the truth? And we've both been both. We just don't care.
Absolutely.
When you're doing a summer camp in North Dakota, what are the most important things you're trying to get across to the dogs while you have all those dogs with you?
I think the biggest portion of the prairies, is going up there with young dogs that are not fully trained and get them to handle, because you can see them the whole time out in the prairies. And we've got so many birds, so there's always a reason that they want to keep questing that they can find another one. So we can come out of the prairies with a young dog that he handles how we want to. We like 10 to 2, and he's running 10 to 2 in front of us. Okay, whatever range the owner might want. And he's had his bird exposures, no problem to the flush, no problem to the gun. He's ready to go to more formal training. Okay, that's a win. The seasoned dog, the veteran hunter, the one that's, already does everything right. He's really more in a conditioning program out there. He doesn't need another bird. He already handles birds. He finds birds. So it's getting him the shape. We do road off of an ATV, four-wheeler. We can't do that in Georgia during the summertime. It's too hot. Okay. So for our client dogs or dogs that we're going to be running on the circuit, they got to be in condition. Right. And if a guy lives in Kentucky, it's pretty hard for him to get Georgia, pretty hard to get the dog in top flight shape before hunting season opens. So it's a combination of conditioning. But for us, the prairies is the developing ground to put integrity and build the quest in a young dog.
Early mornings. It's still, it's summertime and it's North Dakota. So I'm guessing early mornings.
Early mornings, we usually are sitting in the truck, with the horses saddled in the trailer, waiting for either the fog to dissipate or the sun to come up. so that we can see a dog when he's away from us. So yeah, it's early mornings. I tell people we're not there for the fine wine and the dancing ladies. We're there to go train. So we're 26 miles from pavement, okay, and we're there to go train. Beautiful country, okay, and usually the afternoons we're done. We might do some yard training, but mornings are going to start early, so everybody's saddled in the trailer, ready to go before the sun comes up.
One thing about pro trainers is that they've all got a method for conditioning their dogs for long days, whether it's a long stake at a field trial or an hour-long nab to hunt test, or all-day hunting, or several days of hunting. Can you give us kind of the top line on conditioning a dog, and then let's go into some of the details?
Okay, well, the conditioning, he's got to be able to be in shape in order to quest no matter what the temperature is, okay? So the conditioning, yeah, it's going to help him handle heat better. Okay, he's going to live longer. He's going to be in shape, just like the doctor tells me exercise more. He didn't mean do 100 miles on my bike, but putting it in the truck and driving down the road. Okay, so it's the same thing with the dog. When we start our roading, our young dogs, we're going to start off 15, 20 minutes, okay, 6, 7 miles an hour. Okay. As they build some endurance and they get used to this, and we'll increase the distance, okay, that they're running. Okay, the time, not the speed. We basically rode 6 to 8 miles an hour. Okay, so we're not going to say, oh, let's get him in better shape by running at 15 miles an hour. Long, slow distance, because that's our job. That's the job of the dog as a hunting dog, a field trial dog, to stay down there and finish strong. Okay, find another bird. There are some products. We use a product from elementnutrition.com called H. Are you familiar with that? And Todd, we've dealt with it for a long time.
Todd's been very good to me. Yes.
Great product. It'll reduce the dog's body temperature, okay, with no side effects. And that's a big thing. And, he has the R for recovery, because that's a biggie. So I tell all my clients who are going hunting for multiple days in a row, bring R with you, help him recover. You want the same dog the second day that you started the first day with. So if he's in condition, you're feeding right. We feed Purina Pro Plan, have for years. Okay, and I just don't know a better food. Okay, it works for us. Okay, and you look at the dogs that are winning at the national level. What are they eating? Well, somebody says, yeah, but I'm not running field trials. No, but you're asking your dog to work harder. You're asking him to work longer. Okay, field trials an hour and a half. Okay, derby dogs 30 minutes maybe. The hunter's down for way more than that. The dog has to keep running. He's not running a sprint, but long, slow distance, keep doing it. Food, nutrition, okay, helping beat the heat. That's what keeps dogs alive and helps them keep finding another bird.
If we don't have a 4x4 or side-by-side or something like that, I'm lucky. I have some solutions for that for myself, but can we do that from a bike? Or what have you seen working besides motorized vehicles?
Well, something's better than nothing is how I would answer it. Okay. But the advantages of running off a four-wheeler, I don't mean free running now, that he's in harnesses. Okay. He's attached to roding bars on the four-wheeler. He's not only is he getting aerobic training, okay, he's getting his muscles. Okay. You don't get the same thing. Swimming, and we're talking pointing dogs, our pointers are not the best swimmers in the world. Okay. So in the lab world, you can give them another, more retrieves, okay, and do that. With the pointing breed, yeah, if you have an e-bike, that's better. Okay. The dog is going to run so long when you're hunting that unless you're a marathon biker, you're not going to be able to keep him down for the length of time that he's going to be able to maximize his genetics to be able to hunt. Okay. Keeps you in shape. But you're going for a 20-mile bike ride, that's a hiccup for the dog. I mean, once he's in shape, 20 miles is nothing, right? So, free running is great. If you're going to free run, you can get a roding harness, and you can put welder cables on the loops on the side, O-rings, okay? Make sure if you're using chains that you got them covered so they don't get caught on twigs or something. and put a put a harness on him, attach welder cables to the side of it. That's 6, 7 feet long. He'll weigh 10, 12 pounds. Now you could be running him and he's getting resistance training. Okay. He's going to the gym and he's lifting weights and he's also getting more aerobic training. That's an effective way of doing it.
Yeah, I like that. And then these days, this is how I defaulted to it. I was looking at electric bikes because I could get enough mileage in that way.
Absolutely. That's what I meant by I said the e-bike. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the way to, particularly if somebody lives in an urban environment during the summer. I mean, we don't. I mean, our office is for what we do. Okay. But there's a lot of people just couldn't free run their dog, where they are. Okay. And so if you had an e-bike and you had the cables, I mean, you could do something like that, which would be safe for the dog and still be getting exercise and conditioning.
Well, good. And good to hear that you think it's as important as it is. I've learned the hard way, and so have many of my friends over the years. We've seen it even in, an hour-long NAVDA utility test.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A dog he's set up so different from the olfactory standpoint. I mean, when we're running hard, we're taking 100% of the air intake through our mouth. Okay. We can't smell an onion if it was strapped to our chest. Okay. We're taking the air intake through our mouth. We can't do it. The dog is different. He's going to be able to exhale and inhale. He's still smelling. He's a smelling machine. The better shape he's in, the less air he's taking through his mouth. The less air he's taking through his mouth, the better bird finder he's going to be.
Simply put, very clear that way, and makes all the sense in the world. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
When you're hunting, what are the things that I mean, it's tough for a guy like you to actually go hunting for fun because you've got so much up here, and everybody who's with you is probably looking at you all the time, waiting for a pronouncement. You still have fun, I'm presuming. And what do you get out of that? Why do you go hunting on top of all of this? You work all day at bird dogs, or you work all year at field trials. Why do you go hunting too?
I'm a bird dog addict. That's just the truth. Okay. So whether it's your dog or Harry Fakalali's dog down the street and I see a dog do a good job, I didn't go, oh, that's not my dog, or okay, wow, look at that. And I guess the day that I don't go, wow, look at that, is the time to, hang up the lead. Okay. Yeah. So for me, it's not truly is not the shot bird. It's not how many birds. It's not notches on the 6 gun. Okay. It's, it's watching that dog. He doesn't even have to find a bunch of birds. If he was just question hard and that one, if you have a gun dog, that one retrieve he made that you went, wow, look at that, what an amazing job he did on that crippled bird. Okay. A running covey that the dog pinned and he pointed. That thrill never goes away, or I hope it never goes away anyway. It hadn't yet.
Yeah. If you had to choose a bird to hunt all the time, you only have one choice.
I'm sorry, bird?
Bird, yeah.
Okay.
What would you choose?
Huns.
Well,
I love
you have
Huns.
Experience at them, and so do I. I'm really curious. Why do you like Huns so much?
I love where they live, for one. Okay, the ambiance of the restaurant, so to speak, is really good. And it's a cubby flush, like the wild quail, which would be a toss-up between me, be an argument. If I got to the pearly gates, which I doubt I do, but if I got to the pearly gates, okay, and he says, I got bad news for you. You can only hunt Huns every day, or bad news is you can only hunt wild quail off horseback with pointing dogs every day. I knew I died and went to heaven. Either one would work, okay? I think they're all great. I truly mean that. I mean, the pheasant, it's great. I just like the covey rise. I think it's just, exciting. It could be sharptails, but I prefer the Huns, and they're beautiful, and the bobwhite quail, and I love where they live. You hit a covey of Huns on the side of a mountain that you're looking out, it's great.
I can't agree more. I'm leaning towards sharptails, but I'm not going to argue the covey flush because the Sharpies will dribble out in 1s and 2s, and all it does is make me and my dog frustrated. So
You asked me, which bird I'd want to hunt. Okay. You didn't ask me which bird do I most want to train on. Okay. I most want to train on sharptails. Okay. And I want to catch them early
and that's
because when
because,
we get later, they start staging. And
yeah.
when they're staging, they have a sentry out there and you're getting to see birds fly off 500 yards away. They didn't help me in a training session. So in the early portion, when they're there, you get that report double, so to speak. Some birds get up, then another bird gets up. It's just an ideal training scenario.
Well, now you mentioned it, it's a lot like what we were talking about earlier when you're training a dog to be steady.
Exactly, son.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
it's
what's
a
nice
real.
about that time of year, we'll leave North Dakota, late October, mid October, right? By that point, the sharptails are staging and they're pretty tough to deal with, right? We're not going to put our young dogs down to pheasants that time of year. The pheasants that's there then is the one that's beaten the fox, beaten the coyote, beaten the bobcat. He's a pretty formidable adversary, and he's probably going to beat the young dog. And it teaches the dog to quit and give up. So we like pheasants earlier on, but when it gets to be in October, okay, and they've got some maturity to them, it's not my bird of choice, okay. Sharpies are, they're staging. That leaves you the Hun. Okay, and they're a great bird.
And it's been my experience, at least. Check me on this. I don't spend near as much time on the prairie as I'd like to. They put down as a group, and they don't run as far. Is that your experience
With the Sharpies?
with
Oh
hunts?
yeah. Yeah, no, I think where we're hunting is prairie grass areas and hillsides, more we're not in croplands. Okay. So, the Huns, yeah, they hold point pretty well. And I don't see with the Huns the same thing that Sharpies are doing as the season progresses. They're not getting up 500 yards out on us.
Yeah.
So, I like the Huns, but Sharpies, if you're in an area that's, it's got sharp-tail rich, you've got great training grounds.
Let's go down that path one more step, and that is, most of us know, and everybody except Idaho schedules their sharptail season to open relatively early for the reasons you described, I think. Uh, if we were hunting sharptails, and you've been out there quite a while, you know this stuff. Uh, you got any advice for us besides what we've covered so far?
Sharpies?
Yeah.
Once they're staging and you're a walking hunter, it's a tough deal. You're going to get in shape. You're going to probably walk a lot of miles. Okay. You're doing it, and because they're a prairie bird, we might be, because we're running off horseback, we might have found whatever, 8 or 10 coveys in that run in an hour and a half, something like that. When you're walking, you're not going to find that. All right. During the heat of the day, go to the brushes, go to shelter belts. Okay. I don't mean trees you can't walk through, but that's a good place to be going. The edges of, your sunflowers. Okay. Great. Okay. It's always frustrating to be near a sunflower and hear all the Sharpies inside the sunflower talking away. So, along your grass areas, CRP, if there's CRP on the grass that's bordering crops, on that grass, word of warning there, I've talked about it before, is your grass seeds is a bad deal. So I would encourage every one of your listeners to become knowledgeable about the danger of grass seeds. What are the first symptoms? It can be fatal and quickly fatal. Okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be Nicotia, which is bacteria. Okay. But know what cheatgrass is. So when we get out to the prairies and we have cheatgrass, we're not running dogs. We'll be harness pulling, we'll be conditioning. We're not running dogs when the cheatgrass still is seeding. All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait for the seeds to drop off the cheatgrass, which most of your hunters didn't have to deal with it because they were out there, it's already dropped. But if you're out there training, we're not going to run when the cheatgrass is all over the place. But it could be foxtail, speargrass, whatever. So I'd encourage all your viewers to become knowledgeable in the symptoms, because unfortunately every vet in every part of the country is not knowledgeable about how to deal with it. And it could be an emergency situation.
Absolutely. I don't think a lot of people realize that they will do the same thing, effectively do the same thing as a porcupine quill. They'll keep working through the dog's body. And then, as you mentioned, not a lot of veterinarians are expert at this. We had to go to Texas once for what they called foreign object pneumonia.
Uh,
The dog had
Well,
inhaled.
it's a bacteria, so even different than porcupine quill, that bacteria can get in there. You could be in a life-threatening situation within the day. Okay, the next.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not going to be 3-4 weeks later necessarily. Could be, but not necessarily. So, I just encourage your readers to, your listeners, to be knowledgeable about what it looks like, so they're not running their dogs on a sea of foxtail. Okay, and what are the symptoms? And don't go, well, let's see how he's doing in a couple of days.
Good point. Thank you for the warning. You have in many ways been a mentor to so many of us through your writing, through your DVDs, through your clinics. Did you have a mentor?
I did. Okay. The first one and the best one I have is a fellow by the name of Dean Brunn. Okay. Dean had been Handler of the Year numerous times in Springers. Okay. His father was a pro. His brother was a pro, won the Nationals. Okay. And Dean was a great teacher for me because there was nothing polite about it. Okay. It was, you're doing this wrong. Okay. Like the shotgun coach who says, I can stop you from, not mounting it correctly. I'll show you how. And he jams the stock into your face the next time, right? So Dean, I had the privilege of seeing a lot of really good dogs and what made them. Okay. And somebody would say, what the heck are you doing? Okay. And I think that's important. So if we got to worry about political correctness, it's tough to coach him to the upper level. Okay. So he was really good. And then over the years, I still have mentors. Every guy who's out there, gal that's out there winning, who's doing something different, there becomes this camaraderie within the community. So it's not a secret. Okay. I mean, how I do the point drills, I stole from somebody. And somebody said, well, you didn't do it that way last time I saw you. No, I didn't. Okay. This is better. Okay. Well, why didn't you do it that way before? Because I was stupid, Well, so you learn it whether it's going to a field trial. And once again, for your reader, your viewer, I think the going to trials, even if they have no interest in seeing a trial, go to an all-age trial, go to the shooting dog stake, say, I never want my dog to run that big. But you're going to see a standard. You're going to see, how'd you train your dog to do that? For your retrieving people, go to a Springer trial, go to the lab trials. Okay, you're going to learn stuff.
Hey, I wrote a book. There it is.
That's a good one too.
Thank you, by the way, for the what do we call the back? But anyway, appreciate that. So many things I've learned from dogs too. They've been pretty good mentors for me. Can you think of something a dog has taught you that maybe a human never vocalized?
Don't correct me if I don't have a solution. Okay. Almost every problem that people have was a result of a correction or pressure. The dog will take pressure. He will learn from a correction. And that's what a correction is. It's a teaching mechanism. It's not because you're mad. It's not because, the season starts next week. I got to hurry up. When the dog, fails on something, he either didn't understand it, so correction doesn't help him. Okay. Or he's saying, I'm not trained yet. Don't get mad at him. If he's not trained yet, that's not his fault. Okay. That's the handler's fault. So I think the biggest takeaway, and I learned this pretty quickly. I've had the privilege over the years of working with special forces at your league groups. Okay. With Malinois. And the Malinois will certainly take a correction. We'll learn from a correction, but he's not real good at taking a correction if he didn't have a solution, because you're the solution. Okay. And if he bites you, then, nobody's tough enough to say, I'm going to make you go in the kennel while you're trying to eat me. Okay. So I think that when you see, whether it's our setters, whether it's a pointer, Brittany, whatever, that turns soft, okay, or it's flagging, or just doesn't look like everything should be okay, it's usually a result of correction. So if somebody says, what's the biggest thing I should learn? Learn how to administer corrections in a timely fashion. Okay. If he doesn't have a solution, correction's not the answer, in my opinion. We're not talking about de-deering a dog or de-snaking a dog, right? Because he still learns from that. He was in close proximity to the snake. You guaranteed the outcome. When we're talking about a dog on point and you bring him in the point, his genetics says, I want to grab you, destroy nest, I want to kill you. And then we beat him up, okay, for that, and he didn't know why. Okay, now we got a dog who blinks. Okay, so that's the biggest thing dogs have taught me. They also taught me, be kind to him, except do not give him free lunch on a regular basis. If he's getting free lunch, he never had to earn it. So we treat our dogs a lot, we reward them a lot, but we want them to give us something. Maybe it's just standing there and looking at me for a second and I'll reward them. Whatever. Rewards come for giving us a behavior we want. We don't reward for no reason at all.
And that one is, I have taken to the bank, by the way. Never, what did somebody say to me once? Never give away a bowl of food.
That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah, I think Elmer said that to me once.
Yeah.
But
Right.
you talk a lot
We're
about
we're asking a dog to do lots of things he doesn't want to do. He doesn't want to hold point forever. He wants to destroy nest. He wants to chase the bird. He doesn't want to come back to you when he's still got stamina and you're ready to go back to your truck and he's not. So we're asking him to do all kinds of things that he doesn't want to do. If he has a solution and gets a reward for doing it, it's a simpler life for him. And it's going to be a simpler life for the handler.
you. Next time we get together, solution is going to be the start of our conversation, not the conclusion.
Love it.
Because it really changes the way we think about how dogs think. If you want to, go
No
deeper into
question.
it.
I do clicker training, and I think
Yeah.
a lot of people have the, perception clicker of training. It's just, for the faint of heart or whatever. It's where we start teaching a dog something. So if he goes on a board, not because we made him compulsion, he goes on a board, and as soon as he stepped on it, we clicked him. The click said, good job, you're going to get a reward, and then we pay him. We had time for him to process what behavior got him the reward. Then he has a solution. The solution is, how do I earn it? Well, once he has that, it makes it a whole bunch easier to teach him how to avoid something because the solution is going to give him something good.
Love it. We'll carry on. Have a great trial season, a great hunting season. George Hickox, one of the masters in our world. If you didn't learn something today, pardon me, I'll refund your money. George, always great to talk with you. Good luck. Thank you again. Have a great holiday season. You know the drill. Enjoy.
Back at you, Scott. It's always a pleasure, and you have a great rest of your hunting season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good boy. You're the best. Good dog. Whoa. Oh, I see it. Oh.
The Fix It segment is coming up. I'll help you with your dog's pad problems, or at least one of them, right after this word from Mid-Valley Clays and Shooting School. If you're looking for let's call it an elusive Browning shotgun, you got your eyes on an A5, but in a specific gauge, or you're looking for a stock that is just a little bit better than average, check out midvalleyclays.com. Go to their gun room and see their large assortment of Browning shotguns. All gauges, all configurations, they've got them. And if they don't have them, they have a line on some of those hard-to-find models that nobody else really does. So check it out at midvalleyclays.com. Find out what they've got available and talk to Dave Fiedler. He's your shotgun guru. If you're looking for a specific gun, he can find it if anybody can. Learn more and shop the selection of Browning shotguns at midvalleyclays.com. Well, in our Fix It segment this week, this is the time of year when dog pads start becoming problematic. I know they should be in shape by now, but the problem is they're in different environments so much more frequently now than during the off season. Something can happen. It could be simple, a cut. It could be a broken nail. It could be a torn pad. But I have alleviated many of the pad problems by keeping my dog's pads supple. I know it's counterintuitive, but work with me here. My dog's pads are like a tradesman's calluses. What happens if you work hard at creating a more calloused dog pad? Well, eventually those calluses dry up and peel off. Sometimes they peel off on their own. Sometimes it takes a sharp rock or a lava surface of some sort to do it. Well, rather than create more calluses on my dog's pads, I go the other way and create more suppleness. And I do that by regular moisturizing. Yeah, that's right. Moisturizing. Just like your spouse, but on your dog's pads. I use a product that has served me well for 5 years. They don't give me any. I wish they did because I buy it by the quart. It's called ProFoot Heel Rescue Cream. And maybe other products would do it as well. It's a human product. And you can just find it. Go to ProFoot Heel Cream and Heel Rescue Cream, and you'll probably find it at Amazon or something. But I put it on every day during the season. And the key is putting it everywhere there is pad skin on your dog. Yeah, from those carpal pads by their elbow, in between their toes, to that point where the nail meets the pad, all the outside edges of every pad, and then the inside edges of every pad. Just soak them real good. Keep them in the yard for an hour or two. It absorbs, and then it won't end up on your living room carpet. See if that doesn't help you by keeping your dog's pads more supple than calloused. Good luck. Enjoy the rest of your season with a dog whose pads are intact. And now I want to thank you, George Hickox, for all your insights every time you come on. You open my eyes even wider. Thank you to all of you who have left a comment on our social pages or have told somebody about the program. If you can, please leave a rating or a review wherever you get your podcasts. And then, of course, the people who make this all possible. Purina Pro Plan Sport Dog Food, MidValleyClays.com, TrulockChokes, Pointer Shotguns, Sage and Breaker Gun Care Products, Heartland Lodge, CableGangz Stakeout Systems, and HiViz Shooting Systems. You can watch the videos, you can learn from the articles, and you can entertain in the conversational stage. All of that takes place at findbirdhuntingspots.com. I'm Scott Linden. Thanks for listening and watching the Upland Nation podcast.